just by a little bit. That's the reason why I've got half a bottle of Bad Cop and a quarter bottle of the good. But I gotta say, man,
I know it starts out usually backwards for people. It's usually Bad Cop is the one that everybody likes right away. But if you buy them both, or if you have them both, what I think happens is at about 6 months, Good Cop starts to come up and be better, which is kind of neat.
Well, I'll say this, man. This is the best single pour I've had in probably the last. I'll say this is the best whiskey that I've had in probably the last 4 months.
Oh, I love that. So, Brian, if you're watching, the angry Texas Shrek thinks that your single barrel of Good Cop is the best whiskey he's had in several months. So, whatever that's worth to you. But I would agree. It's a fantastic whiskey. Joe really liked Good Cop when he was up this weekend.
It's that kind of rye that just hits right where I want a rye to be.
It's just it is just it gives you everything you would like from a rye whiskey, and it does it very well.
And the whiskey's playing well with the oak.
Sorry, my large furred child just wanted to just join.
Right. We like dogs.
Hey, what are you doing?
So, Joe, earlier on, I asked a question.
Thank you.
What do you have for a breakout distillery of this year? So, like this year, a distillery really kind of broke out of its shell, got better distribution, got recognized more, got more into more stores, or more people were talking about it, or whatever the case may be. But they kind of broke out this year.
Have to be a U.S. distillery?
No, it doesn't have to be.
Okay. Well, Ardnahoe, which is a young Scotch distillery, opened up 5.5, 6 years ago. The first release, their inaugural release, wasn't widely available, but they just came out with their first core range release, and it's starting to show up, being more available and reasonably priced. Very much in the flavor profile of like the Port Charlotte, Charlotte, Coela kind of peaty scotches. Another one which is a lowland distillery is Lochleah, and that one I think is starting to get a lot more distribution. I've got a couple of them here, and it's a softer Scotch, like many of your lowlands are.
Lowland, kind of a typical lowland.
Right. But it's a good one, and it's starting to get some momentum.
I had this feeling that Donald would really like Ardnahoe. Has nothing to do with the whiskey.
No, it's just the hoe.
The deity for Donald that was involved in opening and helping them out. And I don't know if he continues to work there or
Jim
not,
McEwen.
Jim McEwen, and no, he's not with them.
Okay, he did help them get rolling, kind of develop a little bit and start out. So some of that first distillate is going to be definitely influenced by him.
Yes, no doubt.
Yeah,
and you can tell that it was
right. So Fast How To, how you doing, Jeff? Thanks for joining, guys. Absolutely. If you are interested in any home automation, cool techie shit for your house, check this guy out. He's really good at it, and he makes it somewhat fun and definitely easier than what it seems like outside.
What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by what?
Home automation, cool techie shit.
Exactly.
That's
what it
very
like.
broad.
It is very broad. So, and he's very broad with it. He's really good tech stuff. He likes to play with home automation and stuff. Check out his channel. It's Fast How To. Watch a couple videos. You'll kind of get a gist of what he's doing. but yes, he's very good at it, and he does make it easy for to understand. So,
Well,
Yes, Donald, I agree. Rassie's another one that's starting to get
Yeah,
some.
that one's been.
that one I have
I've
not
heard
been
that
able to
name a
try
lot this
that
year.
yet.
Yeah.
The other one, the Arden Merkin, I think that was another big one this year.
Yes,
Yes.
I would agree with that 100%. Unfortunately, I don't have any of theirs, but it is one that's they've got a lot of releases out and are becoming pretty readily accessible.
Mhm.
They just released a 10-year.
Well,
Oh wow, okay.
so on the back of that, because I know we're right at that hour mark. I don't know how long you want to go with this, Jeremy.
Yeah, hour roughly, a little bit over, whatever.
Okay, so what is the breakout independent bottler for this year for you guys? And Jeremy, you're more than welcome to go your cop out answer on that one if you'd like. But
well, I'd rather not him do his cop out answer. I want to give him.
I'm going to exclude Lost Lantern from this whole thing
Thank
because
you. Okay.
realistically, they are. I mean, they're the epitome of independent bottlers in the States. And are you talking about American independents or any?
all independent bottlers
Ooh.
that you are aware of anywhere.
So my answer for this, and I'm gonna use this answer because the other independents that I know have been around for a long, long time. It is not a breakout for them anymore. Gordon McPhail, Douglas Lang, SMWS, all of those have been around for a long time. Nobody needs to hear about them anymore. They all know them. American Single Cask, I think, is going to be one that is definitely somebody to pay attention to. Their first release was 6 bottles. This guy is doing this kind of on his own. He's got a day job. He does this kind of like in the background. He acquired some fantastic barrels from a couple really good distilleries that people know about and a couple distilleries that people don't know about. And the whiskeys people went nuts for the whiskeys because they were really good. He sold out of his first
Two Souls.
Two Soul Spirits. They've been around for about 2 years now.
Yep.
They're doing some cool stuff. They've fallen short a few times for me, so it's not like everything that they do is fantastic. And I think
if you're doing it that way, you're going to go into MGP stuff as well. You could do Penelope, you could do Blue Run, you could do Old Elk.
Those are non-distiller producers.
Those are NDPs, independent. But so that brings up a really good question.
There's Penelope does both, and so does Old Elk.
So what do you consider? What's the difference between an independent bottler and an NDP? What your difference, Marshall?
For me, in my definition of a, as long as you're not doing releases on a regular basis where you are blending and batching, say 20 to 100 barrels, right, or whatever the case may be, right? Like the one-off that Lost Lantern does every now and then, okay, that's cool because there's still a bunch of single barrels. Penelope has a core range. They have the rose, they have the 4-grain, they have got all these things, they've got all that. They are a non-distiller producer from start to finish in my book, right? So Old Elk, I mean, I have nothing against Old Elk. I mean, they source decent MGP. They've got a really good, was it that Armagnac finish that they put out?
Yes.
Mother, dude, that was good whiskey. Okay. I mean, that was phenomenal. If I wasn't so fucking broke at the time, I would have bought one.
Right.
But again, I consider Old Elk to be kind of a non-distiller producer. Whereas I would put, like, for me, mine is Raising Glasses. Raising Glasses does rum. They do whiskey. They do scotch. They're doing American single malt. They're sourcing and doing brandy in the beginning of 2025. So, Raising Glasses for me really opened up with cool, interesting scotch. They're doing Irish. They're doing brandy. They're doing phenomenal, unique, one-of-a-kind rums that I love. And then as well as that, I would throw a second nod just because I am the rum guy. I'm going to throw a nod down on Down Island because, in my opinion, Down Island may be the only person doing single barrel releases and independent bottling better than Holmes K.
So same question to you, Brian. Your difference between an NDP and an Indy.
So it's the same. Marshall's got pretty much the nail on the head with that, but like different definitions, right? Or different experiences with Old Elk. Old Elk, I know they did source more than just that from MGP because I know a couple of the people there. And then also they distill their own stuff, plus they use MGP at the same time. So they come from multiple different sources, and it comes in and they bottle it at this one location. They're not going to always tell you it's all MGP, but it is multiple different distilleries. Sometimes 99% of the time, 98% of the time, it is always going to be the MGP besides the stuff they have currently out, like their Infinity bottle. That is all their own product. That is not MGP, if you did not know that. So that is their own juice that they created out of the distillery they have in Fort Collins. But the rest of the stuff is MGP and another distillery, which I can't say because I signed an NDA, unfortunately. So,
Joe, same question for you.
I think your independent bottlers they're not producing anything themselves. They might be blending, but they're relying on everything they're putting in the bottle coming from another source, coming from the distillery. In a lot of cases, you're looking at blends or cast strength kind of offerings, but they're not doing any kind of production beyond blending for what they're putting out.
Okay. So for me, and Jeff, I'm going to get to your comment question in a second. For me, an indie bottler, and I'm going to use this because it's sitting right here. An indie bottler for me tells you where that liquid came from, exactly where it came from. Mm-hmm. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I bottled this from this distillery. This is the information that I was allowed to give you. Great example. Yes. Raising glasses, same deal. Right on the front, Westland Distillery for that voodoo.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. Two Soul Spirits, another same deal, independent bottler. So this is I'm not going to be able to find it here. Hold on. You have to look a little bit harder on these, but this one here is distilled by Yahara Bay Distillery. Yahara Bay actually does all the bottling for Two Soul Spirits. So whatever barrels they source from any distillery ends up in Wisconsin, gets bottled at Yahara Bay, and then sold under the Two Souls label. I'm not sure why that is or what's going on with that, but they have a partnership with Yahara Bay that they're the ones doing the bottling, which is fine. So every other distillery than Yahara Bay, if you look, it'll say distilled at whatever distillery, bottled by Yahara Bay, put out by Two Soul Spirits. That to me is an independent bottler. The transparency of where it came from, what it is, as much information as they can divulge about it legally is on the label. That's an independent bottler for me.
So I'm gonna go off with
Orphan Barrel. I don't know enough about Orphan Barrel to say this with 100% certainty, but I believe what they are is an independent bottler. They go out and find, I think their claim to fame is they go out and find barrels that were forgotten about at distilleries across the world. It's not America, it's not Scotland, it's not just these, it's anywhere. And they're kind of like forgotten about barrels, or barrels that the distillery says this doesn't work for me.
Yay.
In any of my blends, in any of my products, I don't necessarily want to release it as a single barrel. This is up for grabs if you would like it. And I think that they do that. So yes, they would in fact be an independent bottler. However, I do not believe Orphan Barrel puts the name of the distillery where it came from. I don't
I
think
have
they're
not
very
seen that.
transparent. Yeah, I don't think they're very transparent as far as what's in the bottle.
Oh, who's the one out of is it Canada? Starts with an O. Obane, Octomore. Obane.
Well, that's Scotland, Oban.
That's Scotch.
Well, no, it's not that.
Oban and Octomore are both Scotch.
Yeah, it's not that.
Donald, distillery in Canada that starts with the O.
It's not Scotland.
Canada.
I know.
I said Canada.
Canada. It's an independent bottler. Unobtainium.
That is actually Cat's Eye Distillery out of Iowa.
But
Gene Nasley.
They also do some stuff where it's independent bottling, because
That's
I have
he'll release a single barrel from time to time, and he'll also bring in and do like 1 to 3 barrel batches.
Yeah.
So Obtainium is anything with the Obtainium label is Gene Nassif. He's blending it at his place in Iowa.
And the dude's good.
But he's sourcing it from he's sourcing stuff from all over the place, and he's blending it. So
I mean, this dude took Canadian Mist and made it a premium product.
Yeah.
Still didn't like it.
I liked it.
I did too.
It was Canadian.
Okay, so that answers that. It's that's.
I'm not going to finish the rest of that.
So I'll say this, right. Again, I'm gonna go back to the fact that I'm a rum nerd. There's nothing that has excited me more than when a distillery puts out so much information that you physically can spend an hour trying to digest it all.
Yeah,
front
makes
and
your head
back
spin.
of multiple covers, and you still won't understand it all. You still won't be able to get through it all.
Right.
If I could find a whiskey distillery that was as transparent as Hamden is with these 8 Marks collections, I don't even give a shit what their whiskey tastes like. I would love them to death.
So for me, Westland is that distillery. They are very transparent. You have to go to their website and look. You got to look. But they do. I mean, they break down what the temperature of the ferment tank was for the fermentation. So I mean, they go that deep. They tell you as much as they absolutely physically can, because they know that it doesn't matter if you have every aspect of their whiskey in production, you can't replicate it. It's not going to happen. You know, and I love the story about Lafroig and Lagavulin. Lagavulin wanted to recreate Lafroig, built a distillery right next door, bought the same stills, used the same shit, and couldn't make the same whiskey. So that just says there is a thing about a still signature or distillery signature or whatever the case may be. You can't replicate somebody else's stuff, even if you try.
Well, but on that point, right? So this was a question I was going to ask earlier. You know, we all know that Donald's favorite human being on Earth, well, if Donald has a favorite human being on Earth, is John
Dewar?
No, Jim McEwen.
Right? Yeah.
And so Jim McEwen has his hands in several different distilleries and this and that. What is it? What is Jim McEwen's signature in the glass that you guys can pick up? Is it something? Is it a crispness to the finish? Is it a certain influence of the barrel? Is it what is it that you think you would be able to narrow down or recall from something Jim McEwen has had his hands in? And I'm going to say this with Mark Rainier. I'm going to say this with a bunch of the guys that I know who have been incredibly influential in the Scotch world that also are now influential in rum and brandy and gin and several others as well.
I'm going to answer this first because my answer is going to be fairly short. And I think Joe's answer might be the longest of anybody on here. My answer to that question is it's just fucking good. And the reason I think, the passion that man has for making whiskey is second to none. The man bleeds malted barley, and he just does fantastic things.
That's what he's done his entire life. I mean,
right. I personally don't think that if you gave me 3 whiskeys, One of them was a Brooklotti. One of them was somebody else, and one of them was somebody else, but they were all made by Jim McEwen. I don't think I could tell you that Jim McEwen made all three of them. I don't think I could do that, right? That's not something that I don't believe I could do. Is there somebody else out there like Jim McEwen has his own signature on whiskey? Maybe he does. I don't know. But I can say this: everything that he's ever touched has been gold.
So I'm going to ask this in addition to that. Who and from what distillery did Jim McEwen actually learn from? And who was the head distiller at that time that he actually learned from?
Well, it was Bowmore Distillery.
Right.
And I have to think about the distiller for a second.
Ooh, yeah,
His last name was Dewar.
It's a long time ago.
I'm just using a cop-out answer on that one.
That's a
It's
meta
not.
guess. That's a meta guess.
That was close, but no.
I may also be doing a little ass kissing on that one too.
Yeah,
I can almost assure you that Donald is going to answer that question here in a second.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
So the
person that actually taught that guy was from the Dewar family. That was Scott Dewar.
Okay.
So I do know that.
What do you got there?
Well, so Donald actually answered my question though. He says it's a rounded balance of flavors that are totally cohesive. Octomore 4.1 was his masterpiece.
Yes, it was.
Octomore up until this point is still too peaty for me, to be honest with you. But I know that Travis at one point in time had a Jim McEwen bottle, and it was actually fucking like really, really good Scotch. But yeah, no, it's cool.
So, and that's what I was saying. There is probably somebody out there that can tell you Jim McEwen made this, no matter what the distillery is, or if they know that or don't know that or whatever. They can probably taste it and say that. And I would say Donald is one of those people. Joe, I would think you would be a close second into that boat as well. Because your love for Brooklotti is huge. And now Ardenho and
Idaho. Yeah.
Idaho and
Idaho.
Ardaho, Idaho.
Weedaho.
There we go.
Yeah, Donald, I still have a little bit of a 4.1.
Next to Idaho.
So this, I'm going to talk about this one real quick. This is the last one. This is the 9.99 year Lost Lantern. Now this
one's like days short of being 10 years.
It's 1 day shy of its 10-year birthday in a barrel. Now, is there a difference between a whiskey at 9.9, 9 years, 364 days and 10 years? No, I don't think so. However, legally standing, you cannot put 10 years on the label if it's not 10 years old. And they did that purposefully because Westland does have stocks of 10-year-old stuff that they probably will at some point in time release on their own. And they haven't yet. And Lost Lantern wanted to give them that opportunity to release the 10-year age statement, which I think is really cool. Also, 10 years ago, Westland was not doing what they're doing today. They were sourcing barley. They were sourcing peat. They were sourcing peated barley. And this is a very, very different whiskey than what Westland is today. And this one I was really excited for because I have not had an original peated Westland for a long time. And it's kind of nostalgic and it smells absolutely just like I remembered it. It's just fantastic.
And that is the sole reason that I bought this one.
That is the second best peated Westland I have ever had. That thing is so good.
The fact that yes, I agree. Yeah, the fact that it was a peated Westland is the sole reason I bought that one.
Yeah, the guys behind Raising Glasses, they really stepped it up a notch because they released the single one of, in my opinion, 2023's best single barrel rum of anybody. And it was a 2007 Bentley rum that was just, I mean, stunning fucking liquid in a glass. And then they do the voodoo, they do all these other things. They really are. They've stepped up their game and they're doing a good job.
Deke, no, I have not. Possibly tomorrow, in honor of you joining the show. I might have that 8.1.
Wait a minute, Jerm, you've never had a black art?
No, I have a sample sitting down here actually from Whiskey Deke.
Would it slightly offend you if you knew that I've had like 5 or 6 black arts?
So I've had lots of chances for it. I just never have.
It's always been at the Bastards Ball events, man.
I know. So for me, a whiskey like Black Art,
Mm-hmm.
I need to sit down with it, and I need to be I need to be clean. I need to be paying attention to it. I want to know about it. I want to get intimate with it. I don't want to have 7 whiskeys and then go, oh shit, Black Art, yay, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to do me any good.
Yeah. No,
because I'm the type of person that if I taste that and I like it, I enjoy it, I think it's good, I'm going to go buy a bottle. Now, for those of you that don't know, Black Art is not a cheap bottle. It's a $600 bottle. So,
and I'm going to be honest, man, we got a lot sitting around here on shelves.
Yeah.
I mean,
right. Because it's an expensive bottle that people don't necessarily know about that well, and they're afraid to take that risk. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there that do know what it is and are not afraid to take that risk.
So I'm going to say go to the cheapest place I've ever found it. And I found it for $267. And that
it also depends on which Black Art it is too. So there's many others.
That was the 8.1. And that was in Wichita, Kansas.
Several years ago or no?
Okay, the last Black Art I bought was 7.1. I paid $286, which is okay. So wow.
Okay.
Yeah, it was this year. It was in March.
Now I will say, Donald, I have had the what is it? The Isla Barley. I've had the Isla Barley twice this year, and I've got to say, I'm kind of coming around to that one.
That's
that's a good one. And no, Donald, I haven't had that PC12 you mentioned.
Here's my other issue with both, and this goes for both Black Art and Octomores. I can go to the store and I can buy a Port Charlotte 10. So it's a 10-year peated Bruichladdich for $75, $80.
Yep.
And I can enjoy the hell out of that whiskey. And when I empty that bottle, I can walk back to the store and get another one. With Octomore, it's a $250 bottle. It's roughly a 5-year-old whiskey, give or take. There is a 10-year Octomore, but
they just released a 10-year.
That's a $250 bottle. And is it any better than Port Charlotte 10? Maybe it is. Is it $125 better than Port Charlotte 10?
But the whole thing with Octomore is, wasn't their goal with that to just drive up the peats and parts per million as much as humanly possible?
That's what started the whole Octomore series was
right. But as you get to a certain point, and it's with a lot of things, and not just peat, but it's with a lot of things in life. Once you get to a certain point, you can't tell anymore. Mm-hmm. You can watch TV in 4K. Can you tell the difference between 4K and 8K? Probably not really. You know what I mean? Can you 60 frames per second and 120 frames per second? Can your eyes can't even physically see that. Your eyes can't see any more than 60 frames per second. Like that, it's a thing. Now your brain can process differently, but what I'm getting at is once you get to a certain level of peat, which Port Charlotte is pretty heavy, Octomore is very heavy. Is there that much? I mean, are you gaining anything by spending the extra $125? Are you really gaining anything? That's my dilemma with that one. Isla Barley and Black Art. Now, Black Art are old whiskeys. Those are 28, 27, 26, 29, 30, 32-year-old. I mean, those are old whiskeys, whereas Isla Barleys are in the 7-8 year range. But again, you're talking a massive price difference. Is it that much better? that one I could probably justify easier than the Octomore. Yes, thank you, Joe.
Yeah. By the way, Donald. Yes, I did have the Bear Barley when I was at the Bastards Ball last October. Not this.
I was about
not
to say Trump.
2023. From what I remember, not bad. Really, really kind of grassy. A little bit of hay. A little bit. It was a very just. Dank was not the right word to describe it. But it was just a very dark, monotoned kind of whiskey. I was also drinking a little bit that night, and I don't quite remember how many things I had and how far throughout the night it was when I had that Bear Barley. So my palate may have already been a little fucked up. So I'd love to try it again, though. And I got a buddy that has a bunch of those here in town. I just need to get over there and actually drink with him again. But
There's a lot of talk about Brook Lottie.
Yeah, Germ.
Thanks, Joe.
Your bottles will be on its way tomorrow. That you wanted, so
very cool.
With a few other things for giveaways.
All right, excellent.
Yep.
There's no used underwear or anything weird, anything like that, right?
It may be coming from Martin, not from me, but
well, if it's Martin's used underwear, wait a minute, he doesn't wear any.
That's why
Martin's not here to defend himself. It's not that fun.
Well.
Okay, so we're running an hour and 25, coming up to an hour and 30 minutes. So, Joe, we talked about your breakout distillery is actually not American. It's Scottish and a couple Scottish ones. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about what is your best of 2023 American whiskey. What's the best American whiskey you had of 2023? Marshall, start with you.
23 or 24?
24, sorry.
24?
Yes. Oh, I was like, whoa, fuck.
Ooh, what have I picked up
this year?
I mean, here's my problem though. I haven't bought much this year.
I know, and it doesn't have to have been new this year. Just something new to you this year, like you hadn't had it until 2024.
New. You know what? I'm going to go an answer that's probably a little bit bizarre to me because my number one instinct is to say the new Andalusia heavy peated release because that's stupid, ridiculous, good whiskey.
Okay, and I'm going to stop you right there for 1 second. I don't want you to lose your train of thought, but that comment from you right there puts me on the freaking floor because a year ago,
this one's
something that caught a whiff of peat smoke from 17 miles away was horrendous.
I still do not like the Octomores. I still don't like the really.
That's fine.
Egregiously heavy ones, but
I don't care.
I mean,
you just said heavily peated whiskey was
one
of the favorite ones of this year.
But I'll say this: a buddy of mine gave me a bottle as a thank you for working with him and doing some stuff for him. And I'm not normally much of a bourbon fan these days. Bourbon's kind of really just been boring the fuck out of me. But this Whistle Pig 6-year piggyback rye, this thing here, holy moly! I have enjoyed the shit out of this thing. Indiana, Vermont, Kentucky.
Okay, that's very surprising.
And it's like this thing here has been my kind of more surprising. Like this is something that reinitiated my like. Okay, I want to drink a little bit of bourbon again. I kind of want to jump back into it. And I had this the other night, and then the following days when I was going into the Elijah Craig's, right? So I'll say this in 2024. I have kind of reintroduced a newer and a different series of just better quality bourbon back into things, and I don't hate it as much as I used to.
Okay, excellent.
So I'll say that's a fairly decent one. I mean, you can't go wrong with almost any of the American single malts that we've all been passing around. Those have all been great. But
Joe, you 2024 best whiskey you had this year, whether it came out this year or you tried it first this year.
I'm gonna give you two, and both of these are bourbons.
You overachiever.
I know. This right
Donald,
here.
that sounds really good, by the way.
Bluegrass toasted oak.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know that brand, so absolutely, I'll be looking for that.
This one's 100 proof. They've got a cast strength that I wish I had, and I'll keep an eye out for it just to get. Non-chill filtered, pretty good stuff. And another one that a friend of mine just introduced me to, and I'll put it kind of on par with Four Roses, and that's James Pepper. That one.
James E. Pepper.
Yeah.
Okay. I know a lot of people that really enjoyed that bottle.
I tried that at one of the local liquor stores. Surprised me. It was really rich.
It, like I say, when the first time I tried it, I immediately thought of Four Roses single barrels, and it's like, okay, that's, considering the price difference, that was really for me a pretty significant thing. Enjoy both of them, and without going into all the others, we'll skip the Scotches and the Irish and Japanese.
Brian, yourself, best whiskey, not 10th Mountain, American, that you had in 2024.
Heritage Distilling. Their special operations.
Okay. I think Adrian brought that to this weekend, and I don't know if I got to try that one. I don't think I did. I don't think I tried that one.
It gave a surprising flavor that I was not expecting. That I would say it opened up more sitting after about 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. And then I just tried it again last night because I need to write a review on it and post it on our website. But it was absolutely phenomenal and did nothing but proclaim where these people came from and where they're going. They're doing a great job.
That sounds fantastic. So I know everybody's expecting my answer to be a Lost Lantern bottle, and the Corbin Cash Bourbon is definitely very close to the top of this list. That is one of the best whiskeys I have ever tried, period. But I think for me, the best whiskey that came out and I tried this year was the 45th Parallels Mackenzie Reserve, their single malt. This thing transported me to a whole different section of whiskey that is not from America. And I was so excited to drink this. Every time I poured it, I was happy to drink it. Absolutely a fantastic whiskey. And probably the best one that the best experience that I've tried this year. That Corbin Cash whiskey from Lost Lantern this year was absolutely killer. I don't know if there's a contender to beat that one out for whiskey of the year, but that one definitely gave me the best experience. So we had a couple comments. JP Weiser's 42 year, excellent. Jeff is drinking the James E. Pepper right now. Yeah, that Bentley rum.
Dude,
that was
it
really
lasted
good.
It lasted under a month in my possession.
That was really good. I have a bottle, so when you come up, you can have it again.
Perfect.
Don't drink it all on me.
No, I don't make promises.
Yeah. Okay. So Spencer says it's Old Potrero, but yeah, that's fantastic whiskey. Some of the best I've had this year as well. And Spencer, I haven't even actually opened the bottle you got me yet. I got another one out of Binny's that's a little bit older, and it really is good. So I'm excited to open up that one from you as well when I have
speaking of
a spot for it.
Speaking of Spencer, I'll say this: he got me the Cut Spike American Single Malt, right? So this is the 5-year aged and then finished in the toasted oak staves at 90 proof. And I like the flavor profile of what Cut Spike does out of Nebraska. It's not the most interesting whiskey. It's not going to knock your socks off. It's not like I'm not saying this. Like as much as I love it, I don't really recommend it out all that much because the people that I really, people like us, generally speaking, will not find this to be the most flavorful. They will not find this the most intriguing. But I mean, it's a numbered bottle. It's a distillery and a profile that I like. It's an American single malt that I find is just absolutely phenomenal. And it's only thanks to Spencer that I even have it because it's a distillery exclusive that he was nice enough to be able to ship down to me. So thank you, Spencer, again for that one. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And that the Wyatt Earp single malt.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
100%.
I still don't 100% know what distillery that came out of because there is a few options in Oklahoma. I mean, it can be narrowed down, but there's still 2 or 3 options.
It's not at 13 years.
No, not the 13-year one, not the one that they just announced. Just this regular. Well, this one is the single barrel version of it. This is the one they released earlier this year.
I have the 13-year one.
Yeah, the hazmat.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but that's not a single malt, unfortunately.
I don't care. It's still good.
I believe you that it's good, and that I'm not knocking, but I'm talking about the single malt 100% barley Wyatt Earp cast strength. Dude, this thing, it tastes like Captain Crunch berries sitting in the milk, and then you drink the milk. It's fucking wild, and then the packaging on it is really cool too.
Hey, Jeremy, if you haven't sent that box out by now, can I try that?
Yes.
Hey, Marshall, if you haven't sent that box out,
I do not tell you what. I finally, dude, and I'll say this: I finally have extra money. I finally have money that I don't have to allot to bills, and I have about 12 fucking boxes over here. And I'm about to be in so many fucking live streams and podcasts. I'm going to annoy the fuck out of all of you.
So what's different?
I'm going to be out here more.
Now we just got to look at you more. All right. And with that, gentlemen, I appreciate you all jumping on with me. That was nice. The rescheduling of the show and struggling to find something to talk about, I think it worked out all right. Found some good stuff to talk about. I got to open up my new whiskeys and got to chat with a couple of good dudes. So pretty happy about that.
Brian and Joe jumped on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody in the chat, thank you for joining in. And yes, make sure to tune back in tomorrow. The regular scheduled programming will be back on at 7:00 for the blind sample showdown of Ryan, the Whiskey Deek, and Leslie of Bourbon Heart. We'll be going at it. Not that way, Martin. And
wait, he's in here?
No, he's not in here. If he watches this later,
it's a default. It's a default that you have.
It's a default. Yeah, it is kind of a default.
It's kind of like putting caution on a coffee cup. Now you just kind of have to do it.
Yeah. But yes, tune in tomorrow to see which one of those two moves on to round 2, and then. Other than that, I better put some whiskey in a glass and make a good cheers here. So,
are we doing any Instagram lives or anything of the sort? Or are we wrapping up for the night after this one?
I have 20 minutes. I got to put the kiddo to bed, and then
I'll join you.
I might jump on.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Yeah, if somebody's got an Instagram live going, join us over there. And until tomorrow. Cheers.
Cheers.